But the transfers from team to team will begin with Gino Meta, who is rumored to be leaving to Tudor Pro Cycling. He is on a contract year right now, and early on it seems like Tudor have the first option and the first bid on the table for him. Also, Matteo Jorgensen, who's currently riding for Movistar. Rumors are circulating around him moving to either Jumbo-Visma or EF, both of which I think make a lot of sense. And also an update on the Carlos Rodriguez story. We believe that Movistar are still the frontrunners to take Carlos Rodriguez, the reigning Spanish champion, at the end of this year.
Carlos Rodriguez, we've talked about Ineos Grenadiers so many times on the Echelon, how that they seem a bit, well, they were transitioning from older riders in the twilight of their careers to this younger generation. And here, Carlos Rodriguez, one of the key riders, could be moving to a rival. That seems crazy that they haven't tried to hold on to him.
It is weird, I suppose, because if they lost Rodriguez, that would really be like, I don't know, cutting themselves off at the legs, because he is really the proven youngster who they have. They have other youngsters who could certainly become good GC riders in the future, but they aren't as proven as Carlos Rodriguez, who, did the Vuelta last year and did very well, despite the fact that he crashed quite late on in the final week. It does kind of make sense that he would go to Movistar because he's Spanish and it's a Spanish team. Would he do that? How would it work with Mas, especially in there as well? Of course, Mas is going to be the main man for the tour. Would that just mean that Rodriguez just gets pied off to the Giro until Mas retires or wherever, or then they do a co-leadership? And we know how Movistar co-leaderships go. I think from a cultural standpoint, it makes sense to right, but Ineos do have a history of having quite a Hispanic almost kind of contingency in their team. So culturally, I think it makes sense, but from a team structure standpoint, I don't think it does.
I agree. I think it's going to be strange on Movistar. I'm not 100% sure it'll work out. We've seen them sort of lose touch of some young riders' talents, if you know what I mean. Like they've signed riders you would think could go into great things, and they don't quite progress to the lofty heights we presume before. Carlos Verona,
Sosa.
maybe. I forgot about Iban Sosa even existing in the peloton, no offense. But he was such a promised rider, moved over, faded into obscurity. I'm not sure if the same is going to happen to Carlos Rodriguez. He's shown more promise than Iban Sosa. But yeah, I mean, we spoke about this last year a little bit in the transfer talks later into the season. This offer has been on the table for a while. So I feel like the fact that it's been renewed and the talks are being sort of written about now in Gazzetta shows that there might be some truth in them. The skeptic in me believes that Rodriguez wants to go so he can be part of the next season of LDM Menos Pensado, so he can get a sort of front runner role. He can be like one of the leading names in the credits. He wants a Netflix career afterwards. This is all part of building his Netflix portfolio.
I mean, that makes complete sense. Yeah, but this would be a huge loss once again. Like losing Carapaz, yeah, that's one thing, but a rider that could potentially go on to do bigger things. But I mean, the gig that you were highlighting, that maybe he's just sent off to the Giro for a number of seasons before Enric Mas is too old. That's not a bad gig, to be honest, because then he's the poster boy for the Giro. For Movistar, it's great because they have two contenders in some respect. Don't pull me down on the Enric Mas being a contender for the Tour. But I mean, you have two riders that could conceivably be top 5 in 2 Grand Tours, and that's a bucket load of points. And then they can go together in the Welter.
That's what Carpath was in 2018 and 19. He was sent off to the Giro because he wasn't as good as Landa or Quintana or Valverde. Like he was sent off to the Giro and he won one of them. So you never know. Maybe Rodriguez can get his chance to prove himself at the Giro. I don't know, but at the same time, is there a slot for him at Ineos in the years to come? Thomas is sort of walking out of the scene. I'm losing hope day by day in Egan Bernal coming back. And the younger guys are maybe just a little bit too young. Tim and Adamsman, I don't think, is a sort of nailed on for top 5 for the next 5 years. So I think maybe Rodriguez is at that stage in sort of his career progression where he probably could stay at Ineos and been given some good opportunities. But I feel like his sort of pathway is very similar both teams. We don't know whether there's money behind the scenes that's pulling sort of strings one way or the other. But yeah, I'm starting to believe that this one will happen purely because these talks have been renewed. But I think some of the other rumors on the table are also quite interesting here. Matteo Jorgensen, who had a brilliant Spring Classics campaign, finished top 10 at Paris-Nice. Do you guys think he's going to be a good addition to Jumbo or EF? Which pathway do you see being the more legitimate of the two?
I would like to see the EF avenue more, just from the standpoint that Jumbo, it just seems like superfluous at that point. Bringing in Matteo would just be another guy in there. They've already got so many mountain kind of GC riders. He would just sort of fade into the mass of bodies that they have, and I'd hate to see that happen from a rider who's kind of like done well and he's like making a name for himself, and then all of a sudden it's just like Jumbo, and it's just kind of like I think that'll be a shame. I think that EF suits him more from an American rider going to an American team like that, and especially since EF are very prone to, like, you know, they don't really have. I never got Carapaz, but there's certainly more space in EF, I think, for Jorgensen to have his own chances and show his own colours in that sense, and kind of get his own good results. If he wants to be a GC rider or whatever, you know, they got Grand Tours available for him to do that. He's good at one-day races. The combination of him, Paulus, and other American riders like Sean Quinn in there as well, I think that'll just be a really good dynamic. And it sounds bad, but I do hope that he doesn't go to Jumbo.
I mean, the money's going to be a big thing as well. Jumbo Visma, are they just going to throw cash at him? But I mean, the whole American go-to American team, Jonathan Vauxhall as well. The PR would be amazing for the team. And yeah, if he goes to Jumbo, it's basically just like Kenny Elson going to Ineos Grenadiers or Sky. He goes in there and then you see him 3 years later, nothing on his palmares but a fat bank account, probably. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, he'd slot into their squad quite well. And that Swiss Army knife rider type that Jumbo really like, a bit like a Jan Tratnik, Rowan Dennis to some extent, Nathan van Hooydonk, Christophe Laporte, these guys who can do lots. I think Jorgensen would fit into that squad very well, but I wouldn't I don't think it's going to get quite as much success or freedom as he would at EF, but we'll wait and see. I don't know if there's an extension of Movistar also on the table as an option for him, or whether he's certain on leaving. But the other transfer that I mentioned, Gino Merda going to Tudor, it's a step down in terms of the professional level, down to Pro Continental instead of the World Tour where he was at. But I really see this. I know Gino's a guy who he thinks a lot. He's quite a sort of deep thinker, and I know he's been wanting change in some capacity for the past couple of years. I was surprised he actually extended with Bahrain in the first place. I thought he really wanted change at the end of 2021, but stayed with Bahrain for those 2 years, and I'm not surprised to see that he wants to go to another team. But Tudor, I thought he was a World Tour rider, to be honest.